an author. I'm Kurt Ryan. Today I'll be interviewing Kate Poitevin, author of the young adult epic Saving Tir Gaeltacht. She's also a charter member of the Tin Pencil Writers Group in Spokane. Welcome to the interview and show today, Kate. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
I'm going to read the back of this book now. When Taylor, Jordan, and Zach run after their little brother Zane while on a family hike, they don't expect him to lead them through a portal to another world, Tir Gaeltacht. They're even more surprised to find out that their arrival has been anticipated by the inhabitants there, and that they're expected to help save the world. Can the siblings, with the help of a dragon, a griffin, a flying horse, a stag, a giant dog, and their cousin Gabe, overthrow the evil queen and restore the rightful ruler to the throne? And if they can do that all, will they ever be able to make it home? Okay, so tell me, what is the genre of this book, and what draws you to that genre?
It's a young adult fantasy, and it's what I prefer to read, and so it's what I know best.
So why did you write this story, Kate?
Well, my sister-in-law, Laura Murphy, calls it a love letter to my grandchildren. I just wanted to give them something that had their names in it and made them feel strong and brave and special.
Okay, so I'm curious, how did you come up with the idea for this book?
Actually, the idea kind of came to me many, many years ago in a daydream, and I just kind of filed it away, and it came back to me when I decided to write a book for the kids.
Okay, so you had a daydream, and maybe periodically you would think of that daydream, think about it throughout life, and did you ever, even back when you had the daydream, did you ever think, wow, this would be a great book someday, or did it take several years of just, this kept popping in your mind?
And I never thought of it as a book.
Okay.
It was just like a happy place.
Yeah. So it took a few years, and you finally were thinking, like, geez, this story's been going on in my head for all these years. Maybe I should put it to paper and share it with some people.
Yeah.
I've had stuff like that happen before, not with writing, because I'm not a writer, but just projects around my house, for instance. Geez, sure would like to have that second bathroom. Think about it long enough, I think maybe I'll do something about it. Well, tell me, what is your favorite setting in this book? And then your favorite scene?
Probably my favorite setting is Brisha's house, the old lady that takes the children in. I find that even I feel safe and loved when I'm writing the story, and in the parts where it's at the house.
Okay. And your favorite scene in the book, what would that be?
I have a lot of ones that I really like, but probably the one that I like the most is the old hag.
The old hag.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the old hag?
And I can't without giving it away.
Oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want any spoilers, okay?
Yeah, it's a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what was, let's say, one of the most emotional scenes in this book? One that might, really bring a tear to the reader's eye.
Well, I have a couple that were, for me, were that were hardest for me to write. Were at the moment where the grandma realizes that the children are gone. She sees the portal close, and it was very emotional for me. And the hardest ones were when the children had to say goodbye to their bondmates.
Oh, you talk about when the children say goodbye from where they went because they're heading back home? Oh, yeah. This is random, but the thought of Wizard of Oz just popped into my head. Where Dorothy had left home, and then she's crying at the end, saying goodbye to the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion. Anyway.
By the time I finished, I was crying so hard that I couldn't see the screen.
Wow.
While I was writing them.
That is amazing.
And I find that a lot of the people who've read it tell me that made them cry.
Yeah, that's amazing that you were that engrossed in your own story. You were actually immersed in it while you're writing it.
Yes.
I think you're getting a little emotional right now. Are you starting to get a little emotional?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me, do you have any favorite characters in the book?
Obviously, the children are my favorites. I used a lot of my friends as personalities, as characters, but I think maybe the one that I had the most fun writing was Declan, the sailor's son, because I used my son, his personality, and I had to do a lot of research on pirate speak and and he was kind of a perfect pirate to me, and I just had so much fun. I laughed all the time I was writing him. But I like all my characters, even the evil ones.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite kids in the books? Of all the kids in the book, is there one that just really stands out? Are they all pretty much have their own unique things that...
They all have such different personalities, and they're all quirky in their own way, and I think I got to really know them a little bit better because while I was writing it, because I was watching them so closely and trying to pick up on all their little personality quirks but I don't have a favorite. They're all wonderful.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings another random question. I'm the king of randomness, and that is, okay, so the grandkids, did they know that you were writing a story that was inspired, or the characters were inspired by them when you were writing it? Did you just tell them afterwards? Or?
When I first started it, I told them, and I let them pick what kind of bond mate they wanted, and I let them name them.
Okay.
And they all had as much of a part in the process as they wanted.
Yeah, so they were all...
And which most of them just kind of, would pop in once in a while and read a little bit, but I had two of them, the two youngest, Zach and Zane, were my most ardent readers. They kept up with it as it went along. It was their bedtime stories when they stayed with us, and they certainly let me know if I had one of the characters do something that was out of character.
Really? So
they would say, "Grandma, Jordan wouldn't say that. You have to change it."
Oh, that's cute. That's really neat. I mean, I imagine they were probably kind of excited being in a book, right? Having a book that some stuff was inspired by them?
They were. Zach, who is 15 now, is starting, he read it right after I gave it to him, and now he's starting to reread it again.
Really? The whole book?
Yeah.
This is over 500 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes a really dedicated reader, especially, that's great. See the kids like doing that. Well, with that said, is there a message that you're wanting your readers to grasp from the story?
Well, I had several, really. Each of the children had to learn a lesson of their own, and they realized it by the end of the book. They actually verbalized that they learned that lesson.
Really?
I wanted them to learn that by working together, that they could accomplish just about anything. Siblings squabble, but
True that, yeah.
but they learned in the book. They learned how to work together, and over the years, as they've grown older, they have learned to work together too. But also, what I'd like my readers to also grasp, even the young ones and the old ones, is that they're reminded that family is very important, and not just the family you're born into, but the family you choose.
Well, do you have any other works in progress right now?
Yes, I've started a prequel.
Okay.
And it's going to be called Ronnie's Story. In the book, there's a character that's spoken about off and on that came there through that same portal 50 years before. And she did something for the king, and she made a lot of money doing it, and everybody loves her, but I never said in the book what she did. And so my friends convinced me that maybe I needed to tell that story too.
So that's what inspired the prequel.
Yeah.
Now this is a character who lives on the other land.
Came through the same portal that the children did, so lives in that same area.
Okay, so she came through the portal from Earth.
Yeah, but it took place 50 years before.
Oh, wow.
The children's story.
Okay.
And so all the characters are 50 years younger.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I got that now. Okay. Well, do you have any favorite characters from this new story that you're writing?
I'm not too sure because I'm not real far into it, but I think maybe there's a character that's in the first book. He's an old man. He's the wizard mage, the archmage, I'm sorry, of the land. And his teenage self is turning out to be kind of fun.
Teenagers are a lot of fun, aren't they? Yep.
But I haven't gotten far enough yet, and I have several characters you still to introduce, so
yeah.
I won't set that down in stone yet.
Well, tell me, do you write yourself into any of these stories? like you were telling me a few minutes ago about the emotional scene about when the kids, what was it, their mother was panic, seeing them go through
Grandma.
the portal? Grandma.
That was, yeah, and I'm grandma.
Your grandma in
It
the
was-
story.
And that was why it was so hard to write.
Yeah.
I took them on the hike.
Mhm.
We're going on a dragon hunt.
Oh.
And they got away from me. And that's where I end. And then I show up again at the end because I have to bring them home. You know, when they come back through the portal, I'll be there. But that's the only way that I wrote myself in.
So grandma's in a little trouble with mom, then, right?
Yeah.
Or mom or dad.
Yeah.
Bad grandma.
Oh, yeah.
Bad grandma. Well, when and how did you know that you were a writer? When was it that you finally decided that I think I got some writer's chops here?
Well, I was 60 years old.
Okay.
And a young friend of mine asked me to come visit her writers group
Uh-huh.
that she was starting. Her name's Mallory Batista. And at the time, she was very young, and she wanted a familiar face there to help her. And I went, and I thought it'd be fun, and I remembered that I thought about doing a story at one time for the children, and so I just started writing it, and they gave me a lot of encouragement. And where I was in my life, I was very busy. I had a concession trailer called Murphy's Corner, and we traveled all over selling
Mhm.
Irish food. And I was in regional chieftain of an Irish clan, and Eastern Star and Amaranth. I had a big old house to keep up, and I was very busy being a grandma.
You had a lot going on.
But I had,
Yeah.
but I got so much encouragement from the people in the Tin Pencil that I just kept at it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write this book?
Actually, 6 years.
'Cause, I mean, I could see where they'd probably do something like that.
And it was really hard to keep the children young in my minds
Oh.
as they were getting old.
Yeah, I can get that. I can totally see that. Well, do you have any formal training as a writer?
Not a bit.
Not a bit.
It would be a whole lot easier
Yeah.
if I did.
Well, yeah, I guess it has to start. The first writer, the first person to ever write something didn't have any training either.
That's true.
You know, you got-
That's true.
So I think probably the best teacher is experience. You know, you learn more hands-on, at least I do.
Yeah.
So, where do you get your ideas?
I don't know. They pop into my head at random times, usually when I'm driving in the car or when I sit down at the computer and don't know what I'm going to write. If I just sit there for a minute, it comes to me.
I get that too. I mean, I think a lot of people will say that, just about anything, what inventions, you know, someone invents something, just something comes in their head
Yeah.
and they go to the drawing board. Well, what do you like best about writing? The characters, plot development, the actual writing, sitting at the computer?
I think I like my characters best because
Okay.
they come alive to me. They're actually part of my family now.
So when you were a kid, did you have your imaginary play friends in your head?
Oh yeah, when I was young, I had two imaginary playmates. But
Yeah.
yeah. Now that you mention it.
I still do. What was the best comment that you ever received from a reader? I guess it could be a compliment or constructive criticism, whatever. Do you
Well-
have something that sticks out in your mind?
Well, yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
I am actually blessed with many wonderful friends who say very nice things about my writing. But the two that pop into my mind are, I have a dear friend named Lynn Wolf who did some proofing for me. And when she brought the manuscript back, she walked in the door and the first thing she said was, if you changed the names of the characters, I still would have known who they were. Because that was the whole point to
Mhm.
me, was to make sure that the children recognized themselves.
Okay.
And that I didn't do something that was out of character for them. And that told me that I did right. I have another dear friend from at least 25 years,
Uh-huh.
Becky Nolan. She wrote me an email telling me how much she liked the book, and then she said, don't ever go there without me again.
Oh.
And I thought that was fun. And I have a dear friend from my Celtic community, a young man that I know that lives over on the coast.
Uh-huh.
His name's Jeff Wolf. And not too long ago, he sent me a text telling me that he was reading the book and enjoying it. And then at the end, he said, I'm pretty sure that all of this really happened.
Huh. Wow, so it might not be a novel
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the everyday life of a writer. Even though you've written one, you've got another, so you're currently a writer. They tell budding actors, musicians, don't quit your day job. Do you still have a day job? If so, what is it?
Kind of. First off, I'm grandma.
Okay.
That's my most
That's
important job.
Big job.
My husband is an auditor for insurance companies,
Uh-huh.
and I do the scheduling for him, and I travel. I do the driving so he can work in the car, and then all those, we don't have the concession stand anymore, but I still have all those other things that was going on before, so
Yeah.
I keep pretty busy.
Who were your first readers?
Zach and Zane,
Okay.
and I think I pretty well covered that.
You did.
That, my friend Sue Eller, who is also an author, was with me from the beginning and guided me and gave me a lot of help. And I had several friends that kind of kept up with it a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
But mainly Zach and Zane were every time they came over, they'd say, "What did you write, Grandma?"
Oh, that's neat.
So,
I mean, it's going to be flattering that they're taking an interest in it.
yes.
Might help that they're part of the story, doesn't it?
Yes.
But still. So do you write every day?
I wish I could,
Mhm.
but I have a very busy life, and I write whenever I can.
Do you use a timeline or storyboard or to help keep you on track and to lay it out?
I have tried that. I've watched my
Mhm.
friend Sue do that, and it works beautifully for her, and I try it, and then when I get to that point, the story comes out differently anyway.
What's the timeline?
Yeah, my characters take over and tell me that they don't like my ideas, and they do it themselves. Seriously.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. Well, it's good. So you're kind of fly by the seat of your pants writer.
Yeah.
It just kind of develops and goes where it's going.
Sometimes I'm totally shocked at what
Yeah.
happens. I have actually yelled at the computer as I was
Yeah.
writing it, saying, "No way, no way," as I'm writing it down, because I didn't see that coming myself.
I think you sure you don't have maybe a split personality? Someone
Could
else
be.
is taking
It could
over and
be.
writing for you?
I ha-
Which
I
it
ha-
could be helpful, actually.
I have mentioned that if
Mhm.
I didn't know other writers who had the same problems with
Mhm.
the characters, that I would be reserving a bed for myself at Eastern, because I do have voices in my head.
That's cute. Well, what do you do when you do get writer's block? Do you get writer's block?
Yeah, once in a while.
Okay.
I just come to kind of a standstill, but I just let it go and I get busy and do other things. And then if I'm, I might be vacuuming or driving down the road and some wonderful idea comes,
Okay.
as long as I'm not forcing it.
Okay, so you don't, when you're sitting there and you do this at a computer then, right?
Mhm.
Modern way, okay. So you're at the computer and you just can't think of anything else to say. You won't sit there. I've interviewed a few other authors who say they maybe will just write down a word, some random word out of the dictionary, and that sometimes gets them going. You will just go ahead and start doing other tasks and let it come naturally, just something. You might be vacuuming and just something will pop in your head. Do you run over the computer and write it down, or you just kind of keep it in your head?
I keep it in my head.
Okay.
Sometimes it does work if I just go and sit down,
Okay,
but it's hard to go sit down if I don't have an idea at all.
absolutely,
But
yeah.
sometimes when I sit down, if I just sit there for a few minutes and stare at the screen, then something comes too. That also
Really?
helps.
Do you ever back up in your story, maybe back up a page or two and read it, kind of like getting a running start again, and then see if that
Mhm.
jumps you?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to think, that's something I've done before.
Yeah.
Just when I used to have to write reports, for
Ah.
instance, and it's like, I try to back up.
Yeah, there's lots of little tricks that'll get you going.
So who's your favorite living author?
Well, besides my friends who are local authors
Mhm.
that I think are wonderful, especially Sue Eller, the author of the Emily Trace Mysteries.
Mhm.
She has been so much help to me with my book and helping to get it published. And her series is wonderful. But as far as mainstream authors that you might have heard of before, of course, J.K. Rowling. And I also like Diana Gabaldon.
Oh, okay. And they probably, reading their books has helped inspire you with kind of how you want to write.
Yes.
Very cool.
I aspire to their quality someday,
Yeah.
maybe.
Wow. Certainly got some nice art. At least, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm pretty impressed with the cover. So if that is any indication of what lies therein.
Yes, the cover was done by my friend who started me on this process to begin with,
And
Mallory
who's-
Batista.
And that name just sounds familiar to me too. Almost. Not sure why. Maybe we cross paths, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, on to other things. Do you have a favorite place besides home that you like to be? Favorite place in the world?
I think probably Edinburgh.
Oh.
And then any place in Ireland.
Oh, okay. Now, are you Irish or?
I am Irish. My maiden name is Murphy.
Okay, there's where the Murphy comes from. Gotcha.
Yes. And I even though I am Irish and I love Ireland, I've been there twice, but for some reason, my heart is just in Edinburgh. It's a wonderful city.
I've never been there before.
You should.
The closest I've been to is, I've been to London, and I've been to some of the smaller communities around there from England. So, what would you tell a person who has never written a book before or written anything, but they're wanting to become an author? They're a newbie, because you're still fairly new, even though you've got a really impressive book here, and you've worked at it for several years. But you probably got something really great to share with the new beginning writer.
I talk to a lot of people that say that they have a book in them, that they have a story they want to tell, and I say, then sit down and tell it. Start it, and while they're working on it, find a supportive writers group like I have. I have 3 writers groups that are very supportive and helpful, and just keep going. And even if it doesn't ever publish, it still needs to be told, and their friends and relatives will enjoy it.
Okay, well, tell me, you just talked about writers groups. So elaborate more on these writers groups. You said plural there. What are some of the groups that you're in?
Well, as you mentioned before, the Tin Pencil Writers Group. I've been a member there since 2008, and it's a wonderful group. It's changed over the years, and now we've got a fairly small group that meets in each other's homes, and we give each other support. We read what we're working on, and the others critique it and help us along in a very loving, safe way, because we're all also friends.
Yeah.
I belong to Spokane Authors and Self-Publishers, which is a larger group, and our primary focus is helping each other get published, and we have speakers that come and talk to us about different aspects of writing. And then there's a group that meets at Auntie's Bookstore downtown that also is kind of the same kind of focus, is just helping each other and supporting each other and getting learning about how to get published.
So you've got lots of resources in this town, and I guess there's a lot more authors in this town than what people would really realize. Huh?
There's a lot, and for the most part, we seem to be very supportive. And we've had people come from other cities and mention that they're surprised at how supportive we are of each other.
Oh.
There's not jealousy and that kind of thing amongst our groups.
I was going to say that, so there is other groups, there can be a lot of rivalry, a lot
Yeah,
of competition, I guess.
We all rejoice when somebody has a milestone of some kind, and
Oh, great.
We're there to pat them on the back, and
That's really nice.
and we show up for each other's book signings and things like that.
Oh, yeah, it's
And
nice to have
and
that.
if we start to falter a little bit, then we push each other to continue writing.
Oh, you mean when you're kind of stalling getting the writer's block, for instance?
Yeah, stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
So,
Well, anyway, thanks for interviewing and talking all about your book here, Kate. I'm wondering, can you tell your readers where they can find this book if they want to buy it?
Well, if you live in the Spokane area, at Auntie's, at the Hastings in the Valley, and the one on Wellesley, and Ash, and from me. And if you can't buy it from a local bookseller, I'm also on Amazon and Kindle.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks a lot for coming and sharing your book and some insights into what it's like being an author with us today, Katie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Now.